The button should be going live.
I don't see much but your ceiling there on the top of your bookshelf. I don't really need much. But...
Okay, one moment, sir, please.
Mm-hmm.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Podcast Network. Today is January 23rd, 2018. Thank you, Jesus, for saving me. Shawn will be your host tonight.
No.
And welcome tonight. We are live.
Hello.
There we go. So.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to switch the camera there. There we go. Just give me a second here, Fraser. I'm going to pull you up. I don't have my monitor set up like I normally do tonight. There you go. Oh, and you're on the wrong side again. And I'm gone off the feed. Wow.
This is technical.
I know what it is because I let me change that. So everybody, we're going to talk about serving God. Here, actually, I have you on the other screen there. You're I got to turn the thing off because there's a transition time for that. So it's actually slowly transitioning over to you. Okay, there you go. There. Okay, so you want to say hello while I fix this?
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be on. This is a sort of new network thing, so I'm glad to be a part of it. We were going to talk about sort of what we're going to do. I'm, I guess, a co-host on a podcast called Seeking Truth, Finding Frank and Fraser. So you can tell
Frank and Fraser. I just thought it was with you guys.
Oh, finding it was just too funny to say. Like how I said it is like people coming were seeking truth. What do they find? They just find Frank and Fraser. It's sort of at least telling people that we are not the truth. We are just trying also to find the truth. So if they're coming to us seeking truth, actually you're finding Frank and Fraser also seeking the truth. So we've got a lot of different levels for it. It was just, anyways, the fact that it was seeking and finding work together, it's a little play, but basically it's a show about Frank and I just talking about whatever comes on our minds of that day or the day before. We chat a little bit offline and then say, hey, that sounds like a podcast topic. Mm-hmm. It's worked so far. Frank is away right now. He's run into some bad luck, so we're wishing him well for sure, and he will be back. Frank is strong, and Frank's going to be back, and he's gonna really test my abilities because he keeps me sharp, boy. Oh boy, he doesn't let me off easy. It's a lot of fun.
It's true though.
That's what to look forward to. I'm seeking truth with. I'm seeking truth. Well, with Frank and Fraser, seeking truth. What you'll find, Frank and Fraser.
There you go. Gonna find you guys. And I get that back on there. Yeah. Just fiddling around with the buttons here. Yeah, and I like that too. I did start to make. I think most people know I got a lot of things on the go, so I did start writing a recap for the last time you guys were talking about marriage and stuff like that, and we spoke about it a bit, and it's good, and that's I like that aspect about Frank, that he's Catholic and he's Orthodox, more traditional, and he offers some pushback quite often, and he's good at it. He's very gracious. All right,
so very gracious. That's it. I can find pushback everywhere, but Frank is just, he listens to me and responds to what I'm saying, despite maybe total disagreement on some things. But he's really like, he tries to respond to what I was actually saying. I really like discussions with Frank. They're very, very fulfilling, even when there's disagreement. Yes.
Yeah, and he's got a cool accent, being from Brooklyn. It's always nice.
He really does. Oh, I love his accent. Yeah, that's it. It's true. His accent is good. Oh, anyways, we'll see him soon, for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
How about you? What's coming along with you? Coming down.
A lot of different things, obviously, things at church. So I'm active at church. So the printing and the evangelism and going out and witnessing and stuff like that. And I haven't really been going out too much, but in the back end, I'm the one doing the printing and the designing of various things. My cat's going crazy here. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, no, and I know you're really active in that, and that's, and indeed, and I know that's going to continue while this builds up. So it's not like when you're kind of, we'll say, absent from the actual active podcast, you're not doing work, and especially not doing, like you say, we'll say, how do you say it, evangelical work that you're really, how do you say it, embodying here too.
Yeah.
So that it continues on and off camera, that's for sure. But so you were saying that you're going to start with some daily Bible readings as kind of a first sort of tic tac every day. Every day-ish, we're gonna see one of those and a little bit of a discussion on that. That's the start. Yeah.
And it was really good coming up, asking me if I wanted to do updates, everything. Yeah, and it was something good that I found that you had brought up, because what was it that wrong button there. You were saying too about, I was just doing a test. I was just doing a test video, and you were saying like you were listening to it and it sounded good, and it was like, that's what I'm, in the mornings especially, I'm the most productive and full of energy and ready to go with those kind of things. And it's just to have the structure all around it, to have topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, like right here too. And the setup, like today I got it set up good. I have my iPad in a good spot, and one monitor over here, one over there, and I forgot to plug the other one in. But as I do it every day, and it was the same thing as a musician when I was, when you have band practice, to plug in your microphone, or multiple microphones, multiple guitars, and things going into amps, and then into mixers, and then going into the computers and recording. You have to have every little thing labeled, and it's the same thing for good discussions too. And that's it too. Yeah, on the back end, there's the organization of the thought and the ideas, and then talking with people. There's within the next month, we're gonna have 2 or 3 more shows, and I'm looking forward to that, because it's half and half is the technical, and then like you're saying, it's just talking and having fun and having good discussions.
No, and I agree with you on and especially on just getting the importance of getting the ideas down, especially as the type that we are, the sort of you've got a lot of energy in a moment. So it's really good to have had those ideas down, so that it's like, I'm in an energy moment. Pick up that list and just, smash the heck out of, the top 3 things, because that's your moment. And now it's all organized enough so you can basically just hit play or hit record and go.
Too.
And that organization in the background, you've been doing so much in this last month, is going to be key. And then you can actually have fun, as you say. Whereas these technical things, again, they're hiccups now that they will be ironed out. So that, again, it's just a button, and now we go.
Yeah,
and you won't have
a flow now. A flow of things, because I have no problem talking at all, actually. And to hold a good conversation, it's just I want to have it. And it will be stale too if it's just like you and me talking all the time, or you and Frank. That's why the object for me for having different shows is for you to have your own guests and me to have my own guests, and maybe to come together and stuff like that. But to build each of us up as individuals, and our own personal ministry. And again, it's always about relationship with God. And we're coming from different standpoints and different perspectives, but it's for the people out there, who want to share these conversations and get it out to them. I'm just trying to...
Absolutely. Yeah, and I agree with you on, especially, and for me, it's especially when the viewpoints are different. I think it's much less interesting, a conversation between 2 people that are in complete agreement. That's not super interesting to watch, right? So just to see that, and that helps harden your own beliefs or adapt your own beliefs, enlighten, expand your own beliefs to get trying to a higher and higher level of understanding of what we call like the whole truth. Whereas we can get bits and pieces from talking to other people and or from seeing two people talk. I agree with you though on each having a different dynamic. In fact, Frank and I had discussed that perhaps it's something more of seeking truth with Frank or Fraser, in that it would be interesting to have other people on as a regular thing. That
like
Frank
a Siskel and Ebert kind of deal too, almost.
And have that, yeah, exactly. That's sort of the main thread. But then to see other people come on the show, it gives each one of us a break, so that we don't have to be, responsible for kind of 7 days of content, as it were, or 5 days or 3 days. That's why it's cool
to be a network too,
That's it. And so me and Frank are kind of a mini network within a network. Mm-hmm. So, but absolutely, I agree with you. Bringing on other people, that's one of our, Frank and I's focuses as well with Seeking Truth. Not just discussions with he and I, but again, to bring in other things, people to freshen things up, for sure. Yeah, I'm totally on board with that, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. But tonight you had in mind to do a Bible reading after this?
Yeah, I prepared that video, pretty much all day. Not all day, but like, I'd say put 4 or 5 hours of work onto it. It was fun. It's, just to if you're not full of energy or your mind is not sharp for whatever reasons, I'm not going to get into it, but technical things and, especially if you're not familiar with the software or program, you got to cut your teeth on it. It's, even if you're really good at it, it can be difficult. But
yeah, and I want to just highlight the point you just made, just because whatever we see, it might be 5 minutes, but that's 5 hours of work. And just that, I understand it. I know you certainly understand it, but that's what it is. A minute of video is really an hour of work, minimum. And especially now, it's like you see, you'll get more and more efficient, but it still will be, a tip of the iceberg. The video is this much, whereas the work is 10 hours. Eventually we'll get more efficient, but then it'll be 5 hours. It's still a lot of background. So that you come here and you say you're ready to do that one after 5 hours, again, that's like, it's a big chunk of the day, especially when you're doing these other things. So please continue, but I just wanted to highlight that that's an important note when we watch what we see, the tip of the iceberg from what you do. Anyhow.
Yeah, just like you're saying, it's especially the same thing. Like it's not the only project that I'm doing. Graphic design and now like you were saying, in the back end having the and that's another thing anybody's watching, serving God podcast network.com. That serving God podcast network, just dashes between every word, .com. I got to figure out a better way to say that, or just get another name that's, servinggodpodcastnetwork.com. All one word.
That second thing you said, it was actually not bad. Just say the Serving God Podcast Network.com, but put a dash between each word. And that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, so. I like that. Yeah, it looks neat, looks cool how it is. And then
just how to say it, though, like you say, a nice flowing way of saying it. Yeah, okay.
My eyes been watering all night again. Anyhow, so anyways, I got the list open here. Let me scroll down what we got going on here. So the daily Bible readings. It's not too hard. It's pretty easy, but you have to understand that I still have to get up and look at my Bible verses and actually do my Bible study. And then, like I said, today it took me a while to make the video. And look, I want nice pictures. I don't steal my pictures, and it costs money. You want to download 3 or 4 or 5 pictures for $20, that adds up. So, I have to make my own pictures, make my own graphics. So, you know what? You spend an hour, you're making a video and you made 5 pictures for your video and, you know what I mean, those. But it's fun. It's very enjoyable. I like it. And it's getting better.
And it's a lot of good original work. I think I've got about 5 for Seeking Truth. Shawn doesn't just do stuff for his own podcast either. He does it for our podcast.
Well, it's all fun, though. I enjoy it. And this is just the beginning, too. Most of the stuff is just like, it's kind of like a placeholder kind of deal. All right, so today I have a video here, And maybe we can play really quickly just a clip here. I'm going to drag it over. Because it was more, I have clips for us to watch for discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it actually leaves you on there. This is Jeff Durbin.
The other prophets and people in the
it's
Bible,
a New Age type girl.
Buddhism.
Where,
there are so many different religions that you
can
can
I saw that one. We don't see them talking, do we? We see them talking.
Treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah, I see that.
That's what Jesus said, yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
We can take a look. Yeah, they were talking about
every collective religion ever is. It comes down to that one rule, which is, I think, maybe like one of the very few absolutes of life is that whatever you put out will come back. So, like, if there has to be an absolute in anything, like, I would say that's probably, like, the basis of what I believe is.
So love is an absolute?
No, it's not, because I'm not saying that love is an absolute, I'm just saying that whatever you put out comes back to you. The way that you interact with your environment.
Yeah, and see, this is, again, the problem. When he starts talking to her, the interaction, it starts about, because she has a shirt saying that love is dope. But you hear at the end, she says love is not absolute. So this is the point where, since we're talking about where we're going with things, morality and ethics and philosophy, more, like talking about objective truth. And we've already talked about those things a lot, but there's some importance to it, because there's the whole generation under us. I guess it's like, the generation above us, the very far left, or the far right too, but the far left especially, they take their philosophy very, very, far, and they're the professors in a lot of the social studies and humanities. They're the professors in the university, so this is the concern by a lot of people, like Jordan Peterson, who's really, over the past 2 years, has just exploded online, and he's doing a book tour right now. But I don't know. It's sad. I don't know, Fraser. To subscribe, like that girl was subscribing to basically love as being her core value, her core belief. But at the end, she affirms to, out of love there is no love. You know what I mean? Like, out of love, I'm gonna let you, Fraser, believe what you want, and I'm gonna say there is no love. It's kind of self-refuting.
Well, and I did watch the video. I guess I'm thinking about this for a while and sort of breaking it down from the, like you say, this objective truth. So to talk about the philosophical part of it, and then there's the practical aspect of it. So whereas we're discussing the philosophical aspect of it, like what is the truth, which is sort of, again, the background to life, as it were. Whereas a lot, and for good reasons, like people live their lives practically, not necessarily thinking about the origins of the universe as they're walking around. So the practical aspect, people can live, in fact, in my mind, their entire life with a philosophy that doesn't necessarily have a logical, perhaps a more spiritual side to it, because the life is so practical. So whether you and I talk about love being objective or not, again, we'll take it as given that love is objective, so that someone who refutes that, we can just say they're wrong. And then she says, no, I really love love. And so,
it's kind of delusional, I guess, in a bit.
No, not. I don't think it's delusional. I just think that, again, it takes a lot of time to really dig down into these things. And in the real impact on your life of thinking about or reading the entire philosophy of philosophy's book end to end takes a lot of time. So not to have thought about these things intricately in a logical way is, again, illogical, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the universe is not objective. Not objective. And so then we get to how people apply it, in my mind. And then it's like, okay, one person is applying this objective truth differently or interpreting it differently and saying it's subjective. That's fine. Like, her thing was not to be a philosopher. It was just to, like, be a good person. And so when she said, let someone else do it, he kind of gave an extreme example of if someone or two people in front of her were killing each other, what do you do? And basically it's like, I'll call the police. And it's like, I don't want to, like, I'm not a fighter. I'm a 130-pound girl. And so I felt that his interpretation of what she was saying was not entirely accurate. Like, she would have said, yeah, we got to stop them. That's not a cool thing to do. But I'm not a violent person. And in my mind, I'm a free speech and free expression kind of person. So I'm not going to violently stop someone doing something unless, and that's the intervening point, they're harming someone else. In which case, again, perhaps the best solution is to call the police. And that's kind of what her answer was. I'm like, well, I agree with that, whether or not love is objective or not. So I agreed with all her answers. And then we get to this love is objective, and it's like, she hadn't really thought about it. So whether that part of the conversation was very deep and I can hold anything against her, I don't think so, because I don't think she was at that deep level of philosophy.
Yeah,
similar to how
I don't think you have to really go deep into it, though, for myself, with the way I was looking at it, because he was just showing her the internal consistency of her worldview. You don't have to go deep into it. If your boat has holes in it, it's going to sink, it's going to get full with water. So I understand there's the sentiment and there's the emotional aspect of it. But to be honest with you, when you don't... Jordan Peterson, when he had he was on Sam Harris's podcast, and they got stuck up and hung up on truth, because there are certain things that we can't know with absolute certainty. But we do have to be pragmatic about it. And the issue is, yes, she was saying, let's call the police, but on the other examples, and not always the extreme examples, she was paralyzed in her choices and what to do, especially when they were common sense, basic things. When, like, if someone's going to steal from you or rob you or so, there was a lot of different examples that he used, and I didn't actually sit down and watch all of it because, I'm not always focused, but there's a problem there. And especially for me, that you don't, if you're not standing on a rock, if you're standing in quicksand, if you don't have a firm foundation, and that's the thing, it will always boil down for me, is because it's the internal consistency is just not there. It's self-refuting, and unhealthy thinking styles like that. It's inefficient, But I do, like you were saying, I love where she's coming from. I think if she really loves love, like she says, or she would understand truth is love, then she would say, I think there is love and there's truth. And that's why for me, that's why Jesus Christ died, for us.
So just to respond, like, again, those examples, I did actually look through it all, but I thought that, well, especially on the stealing one, he says, what if someone's in your home stealing stuff? Would you just let them do that? And she said right away, she would call the police. Like, she would say, what the heck, guy? But again, I'll call the police. But again, do you remember when I first got on? It was those extreme examples. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't usually have discussions on those extreme examples. So when they get popped up like that, it's sort of like, whoa, well, I don't know. And so that she would hesitate would just be natural, in that we're not having these kind of discussions every day. So that's why I say, when it's kind of going to the philosophical, when you ask someone, it looks like they're kind of at a party or something. So it's sort of like, okay, we can discuss that here, but to not be 100% prepared, again, I think that she was sort of, again, just that, maybe not prepared to have a philosophical discussion at a party on a Friday night.
That's the main thing with a lot of these apologetics, is showing people that they haven't thought through their own belief system.
And that's fine, but then it gets down to that. So if there's inconsistencies in our belief system, I don't think from this video we can conclude that type of inconsistency that she has leads to someone living a bad life, in that she seems to be a very good person. Like, everything that I got out of, how she was living her life and what she felt, again, loving love and this kind of thing, even if the background philosophy, kind of university level philosophy, was inconsistent, for me, that's kind of my issue with kind of like, I don't need that the person in front of me has a consistent, again, university level philosophy. That's not important to me. But if they're living a life of loving love, that's what's important. It's that pragmatic thing. So I agree with you. It's like how to practically apply your philosophy. It's just, I want to see the results of it. So whatever the philosophy is behind it, you know what? I'm live and let live. I don't have to dig into your psyche to understand where that's coming from, as long as what I see is love.
Yeah,
and for her, that's what I saw. So I think whatever her philosophy is, the result is love,
Mm-hmm.
I think she has a good philosophy.
Yeah,
That would be my...
The guy, Jeff Durbin, too, he's a proponent of what we call presuppositional apologetics, and I like it, and I agree with it, but it's like you're just saying, you can't always jump to the high level. Even when it's right, it can be confusing, and it might not be the way to... But I don't know, we don't know that girl, too. You know, maybe he kept talking to her, and she changed really, really rapidly after, I don't know. But it's a hard apologetics to do that,
Yeah.
to lay down.
It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's tough if you do, like, it's a kind of know your audience sort of thing. Like, if someone's ready for that, you can lay it on them. But if they're at the sort of, I've never thought about this stuff before, and say, like, I'm not even going to say what we brought up in the very first episode, but saying, like, murder, someone attacking someone else, a violent episode right in front of you. It's just like, whoa, okay, a violent episode. What happened? Is my friend involved? Is it like a violent episode between a policeman and a robber? What am I looking at here? So to hop something at that level, it's got to take the right person, right? To kind of know your audience. If that's, in my mind, if that's good apologetics, it's kind of like, okay, this is sort of homeless guy on the street. So I'm not going to jump into like Socrates or, hermeneutics with the homeless guy on the street. Maybe at the university, or like you say, a university party, perhaps that's appropriate. And I've read it wrong. Perhaps it was like this big philosophical thing. And then, hey, do you mind turning on the camera? And so they were already there, right? That makes sense too. But it's a kind of a know your audience thing. And I thought that, again, she seemed like a pretty loving person. That's the basis I got of her point. But I see he was really trying to get her to think deeper.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
He's one of my favorites to listen to. He's very deep. And that's the long-term thing. Like, it's not just to know, and for the, like you say, hermeneutics, it's not just to know who they are, or where they're coming from, or what they're trying to say, but like, what was I going to say? Because like, it's not just her, it's the time frame too. Like you might only have 10 minutes, you might only have 20 minutes, I don't know. And also, maybe you can only talk to a person 100 times, but you only get 5 minutes each time. Or maybe you get to only talk to them 2 times, and you get 3 hours. I don't know. It's one of those kind of things. Okay, so... Yeah, and
if I could just add one more thing about hermeneutics, because you got me going on that, because I really liked it. And one was, the things was about interpretation, especially. So when we can talk about what the truth is, but in the end, the truth is the truth. So we can discuss it, but it is just what it is, right? And so then hermeneutics is just understanding how people are interpreting the truth. And so, like we say, what it would say would be that she was interpreting the truth differently than him. And yet the truth is the truth. So it's about understanding, why did she interpret it that way and he interpreted it that way? For me, because again, the truth is the truth. And if anyone is looking for the truth, that's good to me. I hope that's good. But just that it's all about interpretation differences. Since we're all talking about the truth, they're not wrong about the truth. The truth is the truth. They're just differing in interpretation. And so when I see two people differing, it's not like the world is different for one person than another. Though the world is the world, right? The truth is the truth. They just interpret it differently. So that's the hermeneutic. I'll get into that a lot. I love that.
That's it too. Yeah, we would say there. Put my mic back up.
Sure. But I'll let you run the show.
You can have false descriptions or false attributes or understandings of something, and I would agree with you that in that sense. That's what we would talk about for God. If I talk about the God for Muslims and the God for Christians, I would philosophically I would say that they're the same God. The maximally greatest being, and that we would have different descriptions. But at the same time, I don't really agree with that too, because the conceptions of what God is different for Muslims and Christians. Okay, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up here, because we're already at 30 minutes. I'm gonna do my Bible verses, and then we'll figure out for tomorrow. And I'm gonna be going live tomorrow, and we'll cover the things that we didn't talk about, and then just go bounce. Let me bounce back really quick to the web page, because didn't move everything over there.
Well, thanks for having me on. So I'll let you do the Bible verse. I'll try and come on tomorrow and again contribute some material to use. I'm gonna I guess my goal is to follow up to yours, like really follow the theme that you've chosen for a day. And as we talked about before, the passing the ball, I'll try and just expand on what you say.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to do too. Like looking at what other people are doing, and we'll get a feel for it as it day by day goes. And doing something every day is cool. And especially now, that like literally every day we're gonna have good themes and introduction musics and stuff like that. We'll make cool stuff. Very cool. If you guys could see the things that I was doing today and looking at today, it's really, really, really nice.
Yeah.
Gonna go with the conversations.
I was watching. Yeah, the website was there. Anyway, so I'll sign off and let you do it, but I'll follow what the theme today is, and definitely I'll try and contribute as often as I can too.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Fraser. It's good to have you, and I've got to find my mouse here. That's the next thing tomorrow. Now that I know how I'm going to keep doing this every day, I won't be changing my stuff around so much. Especially because I have the monitor in front of me and then facing the other monitor. I literally can't. There's my mouse there. Okay.
All right. So I'll just. All
right. I think I'm just going to Does it turn it off? I don't see him. No, he's still there. All right, bye, Fraser.
All right, talk to you later. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, that was fun. No, now we'll continue. In the video, I had cut off Psalm 45, but we'll go over that. So just my mouse up, giving me a hard time, huh? Okay, just give me 1 second. There's my notes. More technical difficulties today, but it's been good. Getting my thoughts organized, all my ideas organized. There's my wallpaper. I love my Jesus wallpaper. So, I don't need that open. I need this on System Preferences. Of course, it's putting it on the window that I can't get to. I think I go up higher. There we go. It's not 11:40 at night, and I'm not tired. Okay, so let's go here. Good thing nobody's online right now, huh? Psalm 45. And then we're going to have David. He's going to narrate it for us again, like yesterday. So, here we go.
Psalm 45. To the choirmaster, according to the lilies. A maskil of the sons of Korah. A love song. My heart overflows with a pleasing theme. I address my verses to the king. My tongue is like the pen of a ready scribe. You are the most handsome of the sons of men. Grace is poured upon your lips. Therefore God has blessed you forever. Gird your sword on your thigh, O mighty one, in your splendor and majesty. In your majesty ride out victoriously for the cause of truth and meekness and righteousness. Let your right hand teach you awesome deeds. Your arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies. The peoples fall under you. Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of your kingdom is a scepter of uprightness. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness beyond your companions. Your robes are all fragrant with myrrh and aloes and cassia. From ivory palaces, stringed instruments make you glad. Daughters of kings are among your ladies of honor. At your right hand stands the queen in gold of Ophir. Hear, O daughter, and consider, and incline your ear. Forget your people and your father's house, and the king will desire your beauty. Since he is your Lord, bow to him. The people of Tyre will seek your favor with gifts, the richest of the people. All glorious is the princess in her chamber, with robes interwoven with gold. In many-colored robes she is led to the king, with her virgin companions following behind her. With joy and gladness they are led along as they enter the palace of the king. In place of your fathers shall be your sons. You will make them princes in all the earth. I will cause your name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore nations will praise you forever and ever.
There we go. So, next on the list, we're going to be reading Genesis 15, verses 1 to 11. And then we're going to jump ahead to verse 17 to 21. So, I'm just going to get my mouse over there again. And, see if I can get that down there. Put that over there. No, over here. There we go. So, Genesis. Hello, hello, hello. Make sure my microphone is turned up. Okay. God's covenant with Abraham. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. Fear not, Abraham, I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great. But Abraham said, O Lord God, what will you give me? For I continue childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abraham said, Behold, you have given me no offspring, and a member of my household will be my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him. This man shall not be your heir. Your very own son shall be your heir. And he brought him outside and said, Look towards heaven, and number the stars, if you are able to number them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. And he believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as righteousness. We'll remember that for later. And he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out from Ur of the Chaldeans. I'm bad at pronouncing. Chaldean, to give you this land. Let me click on it. We get pronunciation in there. Let's see.
Kasdim.
That doesn't sound like the right word there. Noun, proper, masculine, plural. Kasdim. I guess that's what they were actually called. I gotta really learn to get into this. Now that things are getting better for the podcast network and everything, I can start studying better. So anyways, I am the Lord who brought you out from Ur of the Chaldean to give you this land to possess. But he said, O Lord God, how am I to know that I shall possess it? He said to him, Bring me a heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, a young pigeon. And he brought him all these, cut them in half, and laid each half over against the other. But he did not cut the birds in half. And when birds of prey came down on the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. So we'll just scroll back up there. And he believed the Lord, and he counted to him as righteousness. And that's why we are saved by grace. You know, we're justified by our faith, like Abraham here. He was counted it, and he counted it to him as righteousness. That's God counted it as righteousness, that Abraham had faith in him. So I believe we stop at 11 and then we jump to 15, was it? Just peek at my notes. 17 to 21. When the sun had gone down and it was dark, behold, a smoking firepot and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to your offspring I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the land of the Canaanites, the Kenizzites, the Kadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Oh, I should have practiced this before. And that's where that ends. Sorry for that. That's my responsibility. I should learn all the proper pronunciations. So let's go to Hebrews 9, 1 to 14. And then after that, we will go to the Gospel of John. And we'll jump over to the New King James. Alright, so the earthly sanctuary. Chapter 9, starting at verse 1. Then, indeed, even the first covenant had ordinances of divine service, and the earthly sanctuary. For a tabernacle was prepared, the first part, and which was the lampstand, the table, and the showbread, which is called the sanctuary, and behind the second veil, the part of the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all, which had the golden censer and the ark of the covenant overlaid on all sides with gold, in which were the golden pot that had the manna, Aaron's rod that had budded, and the tablets of the covenant, and above it were the cherubim of glory overshadowing the mercy seat. Of these things we cannot speak in detail. Limitations of the earthly service. Now when these things had been thus prepared, the priests always went into the first part of the tabernacle, performing the services. But into the second part the high priest went alone once a year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the people's sins committed in ignorance. The Holy Spirit indicated this, that the way into the holiest of all was not yet made manifest while the first tabernacle was still standing. It was symbolic for the present time in which both gifts and sacrifices are offered, which cannot make him who performed the services perfect in regard to the conscience, concerned only with foods, drinks, various washings, and fleshly ordinances imposed until the time of Reformation. And I don't know how far were we going down there. I think that was it, yeah. Oh, and then here. So, to 14. Right here. But Christ came as high priest of the good things to come, with a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is, not of this creation, not with the blood of goats and calves, but with his own blood. He entered the most holy place once for all, having obtained eternal redemption. For if the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of heifer, sprinkling the unclean, sanctifies for the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, cleanse your conscience from dead works to serve the living God. Here they're writing about, in the Old Testament, the Jewish people, they had a covenant with God, and the sin that they had done, it made them dirty in a sense. They were, especially for when it come to worshiping in the temple, and it also, to them, it made the land, even the land itself, kind of became corrupted and defiled. So that's why when they would have the sacrifice and the blood and splatter the blood around, and that's what they're talking about. If the blood of a goat or sheep, or if that will take away or sanctify, what will the blood of God? That's pretty deep. We don't always think about those things, So, Gospel of John, chapter 5, 1 to 18. So, I really don't think anybody is listening. And, today people don't want to really listen to the Bible. Christians do, but... So, if you're someone who actually watched through this, thank you. It's important, I've really been checking to see if my microphone's working or not. So, 18 verses left. And why not? We'll just there. And then, I'll make it bigger for everybody to see. Christ heals the paralytic man. The Gospel of John, chapter 5, verses 1 to 18. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time in the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first, after the stirring of the water, was made well of whatever disease he had. Now a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, and knew that he had already been in that condition a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I am coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed, and walked. Christ heals on the Sabbath. And that day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said to him who was cured, "It is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to carry your bed." He answered them, "He who made me well said to me, 'Take up your bed and walk.'" Then they asked him, "Who is the man who said to you, 'Take up your bed and walk'?" But the one who was healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn, a multitude being in that place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you have been made well. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you." And this is the word of God. Thanks be to God. And thank you all for being online with us today. I want to thank Fraser for being co-host tonight. Next time, maybe I'll get him on for, we're going to, when I say we, I mean me at this point. I'm going to do a Bible study at the end of the week, and we're going to cover, I think most of these verses and some of the topics and the themes that we're going over here. Sanctification, redemption, justification by faith. They're not like we were talking about philosophy earlier. Sometimes things they might be complicated or sometimes too deep, but as you take it step by step, they're not too bad. So this has been a good evening. My name is Shawn. I didn't even put my name up on the board. This is the Serving God Podcast Network. I'm going to be signing off here. As you can tell, I'm kind of a little bit tired now. So, what I will do is I will play the cool video. And I hope you all have a nice day. Tomorrow I get to more things to do. Always on the go. Which is good though. Good to keep busy. So, a little prayer. Father God, thank you for this opportunity to serve you and to reach out to people on the internet. It's different. A lot of people out there that we can reach. Millions, more than millions, billions. But Lord, it's all for your glory. And just, you're the one who makes all the things happen. I want to thank you and ask you to forgive me for my sins. And just to take care of all the people in the world and all the people that are listening. And Father, thank you for saving me, coming into my life. I pray all this in and through the name of Jesus. Amen. So, here we go. I will click the button now. God bless you all.